And we're live. Welcome, friends, to another episode of the Collectors Series. I'm your host, DPZ. And with me, I have Breakin Wax, and it's Dawn, right? Dawn and Breakin
Don, it
Wax.
is. It
Dawn
is.
and
Thank
Breakin
you for
Wax.
having me.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on. I think I've listened to some of your pods, and I think we have a very similar approach to how we want to do it. We kind of sound similar, and how we talk to our guests. I love the cadence and sort of the the freeness of your episodes. They really explore a lot of cool things and let things just kind of develop. And I was like, that would be a great guy to have on the pod here with this series, because it's, and you're a collector, and we could probably walk down some of those paths together. So thanks for jumping on and being a part of it.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I think it's tough to have a show when you're given like just streamlined one way advice all day, every day. Like I'm into it more for the conversation. On my podcast, if we talk about cards, that's cool. But if we don't, we don't. It's all good for me. I just, like I said, I'm more interested in the person within the hobby, not just the hobby. So,
Correct.
so do you go by DPZ or?
Yeah, I mean, my name is Dennis.
Yep.
But DPZ, I figured everybody has like a bit of a catchphrase or
Yeah.
some sort of a nickname. At first it started out because of where I worked. I didn't really want my name being out there. I was being more mindful of that.
Yeah.
But now it's turned into like, it's kind of fun to have your own little moniker. So DPZ kind of made sense because the guys on Luca Tiger Bronze were nicknaming me that. In our little group chat. So I was like, I'll just run with that. So a PC, I figured, well, we're talking about PCs. I love talking about PCs. That's kind of the whole point, right? So and just kind of put the two together and off you go.
Yeah. No, that's what, when I got back into cards, and collecting again, like I was getting like all these people following my personal account. And then I was like, I don't know if I want to mix my hobby stuff with my personal life. So then I started the Breakin Wax thing. And it's funny because a lot of like old school collectors understand the Breakin Wax. It comes from like breaking like the old packs with the wax packs. You open it with the sealed wax, right? And then for me, because I surf too, it was like just a play on words. Like with the surf wax, you always broke surf wax in half to like use it. So it's like the same thing. So my logo is actually like copied pretty good from like a surf wax company's logo. But yeah.
Yeah, like I think not no, okay, we just won't use the name. I think this episode is going to be kind of fun because we're both very used to being the interviewer, and the moderator and the host. So we're both going to basically be hosting each other. We're probably going to interview each other on this episode, which is great, man. Let's do it. I think we should just do that in this episode. We interview each other.
I'm excited for this only because and it's funny, I've told Cage directly, like I don't listen to podcasts, I don't listen to theirs, I don't listen to mine even. But I've listened to some of the segments. You had the Daddy Rips dude. God, what's his first name?
Mike.
Mike, yeah. So Mike's been on my podcast. He's a good dude. He's very informative. He knows a lot about baseball. I believe he played baseball too. But like, I like your approach, and then even our, your backstory talking to you beforehand. Like, I really like the stories of people that have like worked their way up to positions in life and understand what it's like to be on that ground level. I think when you talk about leadership, those type of folks make the best leaders without a doubt. And being in the military, people always say that the best leaders are the ones, or the best officers are the ones that were prior enlisted. It doesn't mean like the academy guys are bad, but I think you just have a different sense of like work ethic and what it takes to get the job done, because anyone can be a manager, but not anyone can be a good leader. And there's a clear distinction in my mind. But no, I appreciate it. I think this is going to be great. So
yeah, no, I agree with you on the leadership topic. Leadership topic can go forever. One of the books I really enjoy on leadership is I think it's Matt Holliday's Obstacle is the Way. And then The Ego is the Enemy is another really good book by him. But I'm a big Pete Carroll fan. Obviously in Seattle, we're big Seahawks here, born and raised Pacific Northwest, but his approach and how he leads his people and how he lets them grow, pushes them to their max of their abilities. But that book talked about and spoke to the idea, and they actually, in that book, they used a Air Force officer that was, I don't know if you're familiar with the book, he was easily the most talented person, and he could easily rise up the ranks, but he enjoyed staying at one level and not taking that promotion because he felt he would have more of an impact at that level. And it wasn't going to come with all the glory, but he didn't care about the glory. He was more concerned about the substance of what he was doing and delivering on. And that mattered more to him and his legacy and his career versus what his title was and how important he was or what people thought of him. I love that mentality. I think that mentality in life, in business, in leadership is key because it takes you out of the equation, right? It takes you out of the equation of what it means to lead, what it means to inspire others, and it turns it around. It turns it into what are the fruits of what you're doing, and the fruits of what you're doing normally are going to have to do with the people in which are impacted by the decisions you make and the things you do. So for me, it's psychological. I think majority of our leadership is being able to identify and empathize with the people that are working with you. And then the key word, not for you, with you. People don't work for you; they work with you. If they work
100%.
If they directly report to you, but they work for the government or they work for the military. They work for the bank. In my sense, they work for the bank. They don't work for me. That's a very important distinction to make, and I think the very simple distinction there gets lost. And when that gets lost, then you lose your compass on how to lead people because you're thinking it's about you and it needs to be about them. So I try to focus on that. And when you do that, then it's just you're working alongside, you're empathetic. Obviously you still need to make decisions. You need to be able to have good problem resolution skill sets, and need to be able to see the big picture. But you still need to be able to identify with what's going on because the person that's in front of you, everybody has a different situation, a story in their life. And I'm rambling here, but identifying and understanding what's going on all those different, that'll allow you to identify with that person. That person's going to have a different kind of relationship with you where you can be a bit, you can push them and they're not going to feel like it's some direct assault on their character because you've developed a rapport with them. It's hard to do this, but it's important to do this. So I think leadership is just a whole conversation. We could talk for 3 hours about leadership.
Oh yeah. I think it's like, I don't know, like in your sector, but like for us in the military, it's one of those things where positional power is the worst kind of power you can have, right? Like everyone knows who's in charge, who the boss is, the ranks and all that stuff. So like if you're leading that way, you're a shit leader, right? And it takes a long time though for people to learn what you said, to like learn to work from within. And you're absolutely right. Like I never say this person works for me or I'm your boss. It's like, no, we work together because I can't get the job done even on a day-to-day without everybody. On my podcast this week, which the episode will be out next week, but this guy John, him and I were kind of talking about it a little bit, and I'm at one of our training centers now. I'm currently overseas, but like my last unit I was in charge of in Long Island, like when I left, our captain was like, hey, what's your greatest accomplishment here at the unit? Like, what was the thing you're most proud of? And for me, it was simple. It wasn't about what we did over the 3 years. I was the most proud of the people I worked with because I knew that I wouldn't be there getting an award. I wouldn't be in charge of that unit without them. But I was the most proud of everyone at that unit, either enrolled in college, they finished their degree, they promoted, or if they wanted like a specialized program, like we made sure that every single person did that or got what they wanted, because it's one of those things. Like I tell a lot of the young folks now, I'm like, listen, like the service is going to get everything they can out of you. You got to get something out of it too. But for me, more importantly, like I know in this part of my career, like I'm not going to be the commandant. So if I can affect little change in how I see leadership or how I see things are done on a day to day, and I can sprinkle that to the junior folks, and as they come up and they keep sprinkling it, I'm hoping for it to spread, right, to make a difference. And my thing is like if people are growing personally and professionally, it makes the Coast Guard a better place, and that's what I'm interested in, is making it a better place. And because it's, especially in the military, I can't control like where you get stationed, where you live, like those things are out of my control, but I can affect how things are at work on a day to day, and that's important to me. Like, and if you're not doing that, I just feel like you're failing. Like what are you doing? Like if you're not helping out other people or trying to help other people reach their goals as a leader, right, then you're just a manager, and anyone could be a dickhead manager. You know what I mean? Like anybody. Like results don't always necessarily mean you're a great leader either. So, but But yeah, I think it's easy to understand though if you're like, if you start at the bottom and you're working your way up, right? So
right. I mean, you understand what it's like to develop whatever product it is or whatever service it is you're delivering on, whatever it is you're doing, to understand how it's built and what it takes to get to that end goal. Is critical into understanding everybody's role in it and appreciating and respecting everybody's role in it versus going, this doesn't matter because.
Yeah. And when you talk about leadership or management, but like, with like Maslow's hierarchy, right? Like what's the top thing is like self-reflection. Like some people never understand that piece of self-reflection and taking a look in the mirror and saying like, what do I need to work on? Or what is it that I'm lacking? Right. So it's just, takes a while to learn that and figure that out. Me personally, it bothers me when people are like so focused on like, help me be a better leader, help me this. And I'm just like, you don't even know the difference between leadership and management, and all you're doing is managing. So won't you figure that out? And then maybe you can figure out the leadership piece. But yeah, I didn't know we're going to jump down this road. My bad.
No, it's okay. Believe it or not, it's a sports cards podcast about collecting cards. But I think all these topics are always important to have. I always feel like things are brought up for a reason. We talk about them for a reason. They need to be put out there. I'll finish it off. I'll cap it off with this, and I know you're going to agree with me. I think if you have to call yourself a leader, you're probably not one.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That's not a title you give yourself.
No, you are who you are and what you are, and you're going to be that. I think it's important to remember that, but it shouldn't matter either way. You should just be in your role and do your thing and be happy with it, is kind of the way I look at it. Anyway, so yeah, let's talk about cards. So, okay, talk to me, bring me up to speed. How did you start collecting? What brought you into the hobby? I know you're obviously a military man. You enjoy surfing. You've kind of bounced around a little bit, but what is the hobby to you? When did you get into cards, or did you do it? Did you collect when you were a kid and then come back?
Yeah. So I've always been like super interested in sports, playing sports. Like I played every sport as a kid, and then I'm a '80s baby, so like '80s, '90s. Like most kids, I had favorite teams based off of favorite players. So like I was a huge Bo Jackson fan as a kid, Michael Jordan. They used to have this show. It was like Bo Jackson. I don't remember if it was Jordan, but Gretzky was in it, and it was like Flack. It was like a Flack. They had like this moniker, but anyways, it was a cool little show. But I like players. And then it was middle school. My friend Sean. I think my dad had just retired from the Army, and we lived in Baltimore. And him and his dad were into cards. And then I got into cards. Like I'd always see cards at card shops and kind of buy them here and there. Griffey. I told this story before. Like I got this Stadium Club Griffey card, and I remember getting it, and I was like, man, this is such a cool card. And I remember opening Beckett as a little kid and seeing it was a $60 card, and this was like my first reality check. My grandfather was like, just because it's worth 60 doesn't mean someone's going to give you 60. And I was like, damn, Grandpa, way to freaking piss him off.
You had your first moment of capitalism, and your friend was like, yeah,
and I was like in elementary school, and my grandfather was like he was like a business executive, so his mind was always just like, so he crapped all over me, but I still have that card to this day.
I like that. That's cool. Yeah. I like that story, man. You still have it. That's really cool. Not very many people still have a card like that from that far back.
So I have that card, and then I remember at one point Jason Kidd was like the hottest prospect coming out, and there was this Prism card. God, what was the name of that company? I could look it up, but I still have that one. And then back to my friend Sean, like I started going to card shows with him and his dad, and his dad was like super into like buying and selling cards, but also he had this massive collection. So I remember buying like my first couple Bo Jackson rookie cards, which I have those still. And then I hate looking at them because I know the card dealers at the mall rip me off because they're all like the corners are bent in and like they're just horrible cards. But I bought them. Yeah, I still have them. So then I always loved collecting cards. And then if I would see a card shop, I'd always kind of pop in. But then like most people, sports took over. I discovered girls, you know, so it was like I just stopped collecting. But even with that, like I remember 10 years ago, I went to a card shop with my son. We bought one pack of cards at this card shop, and we opened it and we got a John Wall rookie auto. And I was just like, "Oh man, this is cool." And then my son was like, "We should sell it." So I remember putting it on eBay, and it sold for like $160, which blew my mind because before then it was like $5 for like an expensive card. But then fast forward like here and there, right before COVID, Luca and Trey came out, and I was like, I kind of want to get back into cards. Like these guys, I think at least Luca's a generational talent.
Yeah.
Should get on that early. So I started getting back into cards then, and then COVID happened and everything went haywire. But yeah, so I've been kind of like a collector here and there of just things. Also, like I collected Jordans for a long time, so I know a lot of card collectors don't like the sneakerheads, but I'm definitely one of the sneakerhead card collector guys. But it's more so just because of Jordan, Can never go wrong there. What about you? What's your background with the cards? Have you always been a collector?
Yeah, I started when I was I love this. We're here for each other. This is going to be cool. The last 2 episodes I've done with this has been, the Manny one was a little different, and this one's going to be. I love it, man. I love it. It's fresh. I started with when I was a kid. So I'm 42, so I started like I think 88 Donruss, 89 Donruss. That was like my first, 89 Tops was my first foray into cards.
Right.
So it's 9 years old, got into it. I remember them when I was younger, but I wasn't getting them. You could still get packs of 86 Donruss when I was a kid, in 89. So I have a funny story about this. So when I was, so I grown up Catholic, still Catholic, and I was going to church, and every time we talked about "Thou shalt not steal," I'd always just my heart would drop to the floor, because when I was 6 years old, I went to the store with my parents, and I was really into cards. It's like, no, I was like 6, I was 9, but they still had 86 Donruss out in the store. There should have been a sign right there that they were overproducing the cards. They still had 86 going on in 89.
Right.
Anyway, so there were still cards out there being sold from that year. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to buy some of these because these are older. And once you got the Beckett and realized that cards that are older are worth more money, it's 89,
right.
There's 86. I got excited. I didn't have any money, but I was at this store up near the Canadian border. I grew up, up near the Canadian border, Washington State, and I went in there and I grabbed a couple packs and lifted them. Got in the back of the car. I was opening them up, and my parents saw me open them up. Like, where'd you get those? I'm like, and they obviously realized real quick we didn't buy them. You stole them. Turned right around. That's the parents that I had. Made me walk in there and hand the cards back and apologize. And it was just terrible. So even though I was caught, I apologized. I got grounded, got in trouble, was reprimanded the whole night, had to go in there embarrassing. I still felt bad, it's just the guilt I have. I still felt bad. But one of the cards I found in there was a rated rookie Fred McGriff rookie card. So this day, nice. I can't own one. I can't buy one. I remember looking at one, going, maybe I should get a PSA 10. I'm a huge baseball fan. I'm gonna go buy. I can't. I just don't feel like I'm supposed to own that card. I stole it, and I shouldn't have. And it's just it's something. Yeah. I've never told anybody this story. But I did have an 86 box I bought for $10, like the full complete set. You could buy them on eBay back in a couple years ago. It was cheap. And I ripped it open and I found the McGriff rookie card, and I looked at it. I reconciled with the whole thing. And then I graded it with PSA. I thought it looked like a 10. It came back like a 7. It's like,
Right.
And I got the Conseco as well. I graded that, and I just gave it to my son, right? So I still don't own it because I gave it to my son, who's 5. He's 5 years old. He's thought the McGriff rookie, and maybe someday if I have to have that conversation with him, I'll take that card out and teach him about the ethics and morals of not stealing. But my kids hopefully will not do that. But yeah, that was kind of my foray, and I collected Griffey, huge Griffey guy. Obviously, we're in Seattle. We love Griffey, so I collected Griffey when I was a kid, but it's all the common stuff like 89 Donruss, 89 Fleer. I didn't know about Tiffany or Glossy. Now I do, and I have all those cards now, but I didn't know they existed back then. But fell out of favor around 92, 93. I still have 2 cards from my collecting days because I collected mainly hockey and baseball. But for some reason, I had some 89. Everybody had some 90 hoops, right? And 89 hoops. But I have an 89 hoops David Robinson rookie card that I kept in a real nice case, and a 90 Leaf Ken Griffey Jr. that I kept in a really nice case. Likely 9s or 8s, but still, probably the most, like you talk about those cards you kept, they're probably my best conditioned cards that I've kept from the past. So
your parents are nicer than mine. My dad's a Army helicopter pilot, and my mom's Korean, and they would have beaten me silly. Then took me back to the store all crying and emotionally distressed, and been like, go apologize and figure out how you're going to pay for this stuff. So
I'm pretty sure I got the Switch because back, I was raised with the Switch and with the belt. Mm-hmm. So we got that. I know that's not popular today, but that's how I was raised, man. And I always, to this day, I think twice about, I'm always thinking about how I'm representing my mom and my mother and father. I'm always thinking about how 100%. Always. And my kids are going to learn that, lots of respect, not an unhealthy respect, a healthy respect, in a good way, you know what I'm saying? So like, I think that's man, that's a whole nother topic we can.
Yeah. No,
but then this isn't going to be about cards anymore. We're going to do is talking about.
I was going to say, I'm not going to say I agree with the beatings, as they say, but like my mom with my dad, being deployed so much, my brother and I, like as a parent and as a, I don't see how she could have done it any other way, because my brother and I were a handful. We were just, I don't know. It was like we're just wild.
Yeah. No.
Like it was one of those things for me. Like I got in a lot of trouble at school because I'm mixed. So it was like we lived in Korea. People would have something to say. We'd move to the States. Someone would have something to say, and I got in a lot of arguments and fights because of that. But my mom and dad never knew what to do, because like they would call them to the office, and my mom's first question would always be like, "Well, how are his grades?" And they'd be like, "Well, he has straight A's." And my mom's like, "I don't see the problem here. We're going home. Thank you. Goodbye." And that'd be like the end of it. He's got straight A's. I'm not really sure what else you want from us.
So I was changing out my cameras all blurry. I don't know why. I'm just going to switch into this.
Sometimes you got to do like this number.
Maybe like to the webcam?
Yeah, maybe get something to focus on.
Yeah, that's fine. This will work for now. Not a big deal. So talk to me. Okay, so that you got back in Luca. You got back into Luca. You got back into Zion and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then not Zion, but yeah.
I went kind of head first. I remember I called the shop, Indy Card Exchange, and was like, "Hey, I see you have breaks on your website. Can someone please explain this to me? Like, I don't understand this break thing." So then they explained how you could buy into breaks on the website, and then they would open the packs live, like it was like random team baseball breaks, and then I was hooked. And then so then I just started collecting everything for like a good year. Just ripping everything and anything. And then I was like, you know what, let me pull the reins back and figure out what it is I want to collect and what I enjoy. So then I started moving everything. And then come to find out, like I hate football quarterback I hate football quarterbacks. Not a huge fan of basketball either. It's so volatile. It's crazy. If it's somebody I enjoy, like a team, like I'm a Jags fan, so that's fine. But like I really enjoy baseball prospecting, is what I enjoy. And then as far as like that goes, and I'm more into the obscure baseball prospects where I can make like a small investment on a PC and then be happy with it. If he explodes, cool. I can move stuff, maybe get into some different pieces. If that person fails miserably and everything's worthless, and that's okay too. I'm comfortable with where I'm at with it. You know what I mean? So a big one for me is Kevin Made. He's a Cubs prospect. 2 years ago, everyone was on Christian Hernandez. So he was in the same, not draft class, but same card release, the Bowman releases, Bowman Chrome. And it just so happened Brandon got a red shimmer auto, and I was like, let me get it from you. And he's like, well, I'm gonna send it to grading first. And I was like, of course you are. So then I got that from him, and then I just started buying like Kevin Made, and so like he's a PC, and then just a bunch of other like obscure prospects that I like personally. But yeah, that's it as far as PC goes. Like there's a couple things I'll keep in my collection forever, but then for me, like I don't like having high dollar items because it's like money sitting there. You know what I mean? So for instance, like I've told this story a few times. Like I had a Jordan rookie, a PSA 9, and it's like it's hard for me to justify having a $4,000 to $5,000 card just sitting there, even though that's something I want forever. So my thing is the last 2 years I've been looking for a Jordan Fleer rookie that's like a PSA 1 to 2, something I can put in my office, not think about, and that's not like this huge amount of money like sitting over my head. But there's very few things that I would not move in my collection, right? Unless it's like there's like a personal touch behind it. Like, and I wrote a couple of things down because we were talking about a pre-show, some things that I probably would never move. Like for instance, my buddy Holes, we were stationed together. My first unit in the Coast Guard, and we're still like best friends to this day. He sent me a Sam Vincent hoops card. I think it's a SGC 7 or 8. That's something I would never move, and the significance of that card is Michael Jordan's in it in the background with the 12 jersey, you know. So like that was a gift from him, so I probably never move it. Jake, he goes by, hold on, I don't want to mess up his Instagram. I think it's Bay State. Yeah, Bay State cards. So Jake Eckersley, his dad is Dennis Eckersley. That's his father.
Cool.
Yes, they did the Topps Project 20 for 20 cards, you know, and I think it's Alex Padre did a cool design. So Jake had his dad sign those cards for some people, and he sent them out as gifts. So that's something I would never move. So I got that slabbed. There's a Kevin Made. What was it? It was Bowman. It wasn't the Bowman Chrome first. It was let me look it up. Anyways, there was a superfractor on eBay, and the guy wanted like way too much money for it. And I'm like, dude, nobody's collecting this guy in the entire universe but me. Work with me here. And the guy like wouldn't even reply to me. And then next thing I know, it was sold, and I was like, damn it, like the one superfractor I could have had is gone. And then come to find out, Brandon actually bought it and sent it to me as a gift. So I'll probably never move that, regardless of if he blows up or not. I had Bobby Witt Jr. reached out to me 2 years ago now, and like was asking me about a card I had of him, and I was like, oh, well, let's do a trade. You know what I mean? And he was like, well, what do you want? And I was like, I don't know. So that actually ended up being really good. So I traded him a card for some cleats, some game used cleats, and then and I just threw it out there. I was like, game used jersey, signed jersey. And he was like, yeah, no problem. And then so last year he actually sent me the jersey. So I'll probably never move that.
So it's game used from rookie year. That's really cool. Wow.
Yeah.
He's a big collector. It sounds like even beyond, he collects more than just his cars. I think he actually collects in general, right?
I think so, but you know, it's like one of those things. Like you imagine having your own like Bowman first. Like if they sent me the superfractor, I'd be like, I'm sorry, Topps, I'm keeping this one.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like you never get it back. Like I don't know, make another one, and I'll just keep this one in the vault. I have no idea, but yeah, that just stuff like that. You know, those are examples of things I'll probably never move. And then like as far as like a PC goes, like that's, you know, it's just all this baseball stuff. I really enjoy the baseball prospecting and seeing these guys. And if you're doing the baseball prospecting right and you are doing it for investment purposes, there's always opportunities to move stuff, right? All it takes is one guy to have a good game or a couple of games, and then you can move it easily. A great example of that was Ezekiel Tovar for the Rockies. I think his rookie card is in flagship this year. He was on no one's radar. There's very few people that had him on their radar, and if they said they did, they're lying. The only reason I even started to PC him a year and a half ago was because in a Bowman Chrome box, I got one of his base cards. So I looked into him and I was like, oh, he sounds like he could be an exciting prospect in the future. So I started buying a ton of his color. Um, and then he had a week where he hit 3 home runs, like 3 games in a row, and his stuff just blew up. Um, so, but that was, but I had nothing. I had like pennies into it, So I moved all that stuff, golds, oranges, all this graded stuff, and I just moved it. But yeah, I like the baseball prospecting because it's not like quarterbacks where you have to spend thousands to get into it. So
yeah, the barrier to entry in baseball prospecting is much easier to digest. I think it's one of the reasons why we're doing this show with Daddy Rips right now. It's there's shows out there I know that talk about it, but I mean he's a breaker, so he's living and breathing that stuff, and he only breaks Bowman Chrome. He loves that. There's a whole like community around Bowman Chrome.
yep,
I feel like that just needed to be explored, and it would be fun to just talk about that transition to the majors, but still focus on the product, focus on the prospecting aspect of it, because people can go spend like $25 and get a card, and it could turn into something versus basketball and football. It's just out of control. It's just so much money being spent. It doesn't make any sense unless you're like, I don't, unlike you, you're like, I don't want to have cards that have a lot of money in them sitting. Like to me, that's kind of where I'm narrowing down my PC too. I'm trying to narrow it down to smaller, less, but more, more important cards because, I want that store value to be there versus something that's not there because I feel like, it'd be harder for me to justify. So I want to launch into a conversation now that we kind of know about you and your collecting and your habits and what you're trying to do and what you enjoy. I'm a big prospector myself. I actually try to keep it to just one guy. I remember spreading it around to all these people. Now it's like, I'll buy a first Bowman Chrome Auto BGS 95 of one guy and kind of see how it works. Like this year for me, obviously, Acuna is the guy, right? So I bought his, a pretty good subgraded version of that card, and I'm going to see how it rolls. Acuna, Ronald Acuna.
Okay, yep.
Acuna. I mean, I'm selling the Wander. I had this super fractor Mike Trout auto. That I was like, should I hang on to this? Nah, based on what we talked about earlier, I think I'm just going to move that just to have a little extra because it's like there's a bunch of supers out there these days. 1-of-1 supers are like every year. So it's not like they're probably going to be 3 or 4 or 5 more of those produced. It's not like that's going to be rare. And rare becomes a different thing. As you get into this collecting journey, rare becomes a different thing. So I want to launch into another conversation. I'd love to get your insight on and your thoughts on. So I'm kind of getting to this point, and I think people they're all arriving at different like places in their journey where they're like, okay, what is really rare? What's truly rare is what is valuable and what is supposed to be valuable and what's going to maintain that in the future. Obviously, everybody wants to make sure it does, right? So you're trying to be smart and trying to move your collection into stuff like that, and what you keep and hold long term. Because if you're right, if it's going to sit there, you want it to be at least improving in value. You don't want it to just be going down. So risk is not really, I'm risk averse when it comes to that. But when you talk about rarity, I'm in a current situation where I was talking to a friend of mine who is a big time collector and of a certain player. And he has this card of this certain player that's actually so rare, it's pop 1. And there's only 10 of them that could exist. There's only one that's graded. And that person knows of the other person that has the other one. And it's like, but yeah, this is a very important card, but nobody really knows about it. And I was like, well, that's interesting. If nobody really knows about it, then how is it important? How is it in demand? What drives the value? Well, I don't really know. I mean, it's just whatever, I guess, what he thinks it's worth. And I'm like, well, that's kind of interesting. In one hand, you go, okay, it's really expensive. It's important, or it's really rare and important, but there's nothing really, aesthetically over the top with it. It's cool, but it's not like sort of obscure. And the other side of it, it's like, well, is it really worth anything? Nobody knows about it. Nobody really wants it because what's the point of it in having it, right? So that's a weird conundrum to like try to.
Well, it's a supply and demand issue. You know what I mean? And I'll give you an example. I have a good friend, the guy that gave me the Sam Vincent card, right? He loves Michael Jordan. He doesn't anything else but Jordan. And I mean, he collects like the most obscure Jordan stuff there is. Like there's like these coins, right? And like he went so far as to like looking into these coins that some of them were made that were stainless steel and some of them are not. They're just like whatever, like fake metal coins. So he was like the first person to grade them with PSA, and he was like, these are gonna be worth a ton. And I was like, I don't know, man, because like even though it's a rare item, if nobody wants it or cares about it, like you said, what's the value? And if you want to be the first person to venture out to eBay and put it on there and see it, you might get your feelings hurt. So
or even know about it. I mean, there's people that probably know about that coin, but do they want it?
Right. So if nobody wants it, that's where it's like, what do you do?
But then you don't know if anybody wants it if they don't know about it, though.
Right.
See, it gets like.
But the problem is though, like even if they do know about it and they still don't care, then that's where it's like, just because it's worth. It goes back to like what my grandpa said, right? Like even if you think it's worth $60, someone still's got to pay you $60 for it. Someone else has to believe that it's worth $60.
Well, what the best part is this person's actually not selling it, but they will sell it to me, and I'm like, it makes it worse. It's like, but now I know about it. Now I have to have it. I mean, you're really, really smart and you're just trying to be nice and go, hey, this could be a cool. He tends to be that kind of a person that's very nice and likes to share, he doesn't like to hog and hold hostage great PC items for that particular player. And I think it's neat that he's that way. He's wonderful. He's really, really cool, really great person. But that's an interesting topic, right? Because you go, well, and it's not like, okay, there's these weird cards that they're low pop because people don't care about them. They haven't graded them, right? That's a different conversation versus this is literally rare because it's serial numbered to this. It's obvious it's this. It's sort of obscure. You don't know what it is. There's only one graded. People know about it, but the hardcore collectors do. But is that something you really want to put your money into? Versus, but then you go, yeah, but I love this particular player, so of course I do. And it just goes on and on the circle. But this is the collector's mindset. This is how a collector thinks about all of these things, right? You're always kind of wrestling with all of these ideals.
Well, I think like go back to one of the things you said too. It's like, I think like with Bowman, for instance, if you're looking for investment advice, and I don't give any, like I would not buy any base autos, base cards. I wouldn't buy any silver cards. I wouldn't buy any atomic non-numbered stuff at this point in the hobby. And like kind of seeing what the companies are doing as far as, like you said, print run earlier, I would just stick to numbered stuff. Like if you're gonna buy or invest in something, like buy numbered stuff. But it's hard because like right now the products just keep coming out. But like a great example would be like Jackson Holiday. Like, I don't know, I think his base autos, a 9.5, is still like $500 and up. And I would not be investing in anything base. And if you look the last week or so, all these cards are like, you see all these prospects signing, and they're just signing thousands of base autos. So it's like, if you're going to put your money in something, save a little more and buy a numbered card. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think these are all really good points. Like for me, the Acuna, it's going to be, I'm going to wait till the season just starts and then I'll move it, right? I'll auction it. I try not to post things for sale because they just never sell. So I always auction. That's what I'll probably just auction at that point in time. But no, I don't want to hold anything. The only thing I'm going to hold is this Luis Robert gold short print out of 50, Topps Chrome. And it's his rookie card. There's thousands of cards, right? But this is a numbered out of 50 short print gold refractor. So it checks a lot of those boxes. I bought it raw off eBay, and then I graded it, and it came back a 10, which PSA. So just because it came back a PSA 10, I'm keeping it because I'm like, I had it before, and then I sold it, but now I got it back, and I graded it, and I've never graded anything at 10 in my life. At PSA, so that was kind of a monumental thing. So I'm going to keep it for that reason alone. But yeah, the Acuna, I'm moving it. Wander, I'm already auctioning it off because I'm like, I just don't like holding too much risk. And I think I like the prospecting. I love doing it, but it's like I don't know if I want to have too many I don't want to be holding too many of them at any given moment of time. I want to be trying to move them, and then trying to build the PC on the Griffey side because I just feel like that's to me.
So Griffey's your guy.
Griffey's my guy. I mean, I was a Kobe and Griffey guy. Now I think I'll have a couple of very important Kobe's. I got the white superfractor, 2005 finest. It's the only white superfractor I ever had. So I feel like that's important to keep. It's my most expensive card. And then I have his gold Air, like 96, the gold refractor. It looks like the most gorgeous card. It's amazing. Like the 97 finest gold embossed Griffey, the power has the
Yep.
Something about that embossed refractor, it's just amazing looking. So that particular card, and even the super fractor, the Kobe, doesn't look anywhere near as cool as that gold 96 Topps Finest Airs refractor for Kobe. I have an 8.5 BGS, so it's not even that sexy of a grade, but that's one I'll definitely keep. Then I have his first patch auto in a PSA 9. I think it's 2000 Upper Deck Pros and Prospects. I got a PSA 9 patch auto, and that's his first patch auto card. I'm selling all the rest of the autos because he just has so many autographs out there. I thought for a minute that was going to be something that would age well. You can go online. Yeah, Kobe's autographs are everywhere.
So, I mean, to his credit, he signed everything.
So. He signed everything. So I mean, I have an important one, right? I want to, if I'm going to have keep one, I want to keep an important one, one that, you know, a significant one. But you can go online and there's 30 of them for sale at any given moment. And I'm starting to learn, again, back to the collector's mentality. You start learning. If you can go on eBay and find it any given moment, that's the first sign. That's the first, like, okay, probably shouldn't spend too much money on that. 2, if it sells a lot, if it sells more than 5 times a year, it's probably not rare. 3, if the population of it, if it's like you said, it's not serial numbered, it's a base something, a base this, base, probably want to avoid it. I look at, like, for me, rarity is becoming a different conversation. It's like I literally have to make friends with people within the community that collect that particular player and try to get them to sell me the card that I want, that I've only learned about because I've actually dove in, read the forums, the blogs. I've been educated on this particular player and what cards matter. I've watched all the videos, I've learned, and now I know I want this versus that I didn't even know existed 3 years ago. Or you know what I mean? So, like, it just changed. Everything changes as a collector. Everything changes. Well, has that happened to you? Do you have anybody that you would collect like that?
No, just because all the, like, you know, forever people have always been saying, like, oh, junk wax air. Well, like, I feel like we're right back in junk wax and junk slab air right now. So, like, it's hard. Like, that's why, for me, if it's PC, I'd rather have, like, that personal touch. So there's, like, some significance to it. Because even, like, Mike Rubin from Fanatics, right? Like, he came out and said, we're going to market the hobby like no one has ever marketed it before. And it's going to be great. But then within that same week, Topps flagship comes out and the numbers are just astonishing as far as the print run goes. You know, like, people are way bigger nerds than I am. And they've dived into, like, the odds for, like, SPs, the super short print, the SSPs, and the numbers, like, per pack, per box are just quadruple what they were 4 years ago or more. I don't even know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but it's like, I don't know what their plan is for marketing and making the hobby so awesome, but it seems like we're just taking a step backwards, and the hobby does not learn from its past mistakes at all. You know,
it's like learning how to balance that, though, right? How do you balance the demand versus supply?
Right. So, and it's tough too, because, you know, like, with COVID and stuff, like, I don't blame anyone, like the hobby shops and stuff, like, but it's all been just a huge money grab. And I get it. You know what, the 20 years before, people are struggling to get by. People aren't really buying stuff. And then you have this boom because adults can't gamble on sports. That's my theory, is like, right. That's why the prices went crazy, because guys weren't gambling on sports, guys, girls, people. So they wanted to put their money into something. So then boom, sports cards. Right. And then the addiction was getting fed through breaks. And then now we're like, people are saying it's crashing. It's not crashing. I think it's just going back to how it was. But even box prices are not where they were before COVID. Still, like, for me right now, like, I wouldn't, if you're going to, like, my theory has always been, like, if you're chasing Jackson Holiday, right, and you want to do breaks, you're better off spending $1,000 or $2,000 on a break, a case break, and getting a chance at 12 boxes as opposed to opening one box first. However, I don't even know how much Bowman draft is right now for a jumbo, but, like, I mean, that's like a calculated risk, which I would be more happy with skunking on 12 boxes than one box. But yeah, I haven't opened a personal box personally. I don't even know how long. It's been a minute.
Well, when you do, you feel it. You rarely get anything. You're always getting a bunch of base and the stuff you don't want. Like, Daddy Rips and I were talking about this on the last episode. You get all these base cards, nobody knows what to do with. There's just so many of them. You know, most of that is what you're getting, and you're spending how much money for that box. I mean, it's fun to do with your kid or whatever, but you know, it's still kind of Yeah, it's still kind of high.
Yeah, there's no return on investment, and it's like, what are you doing? So like even me, like this coming up season, like the off season, I was big on CJ Abrams, right? Like he was one of the top prospects. He got hurt, then he got traded to the Nationals. So, and his prices were a fraction of J Rod, a fraction of Bobby Witt, right? And rightfully so. But I just felt like if he had a great offseason and he came in good, then that was an opportunity there to like collect something, get some cool pieces, and then I'd be able to move some cool pieces too. So
great.
Just stuff like that. But yeah.
Well,
hey, I don't want to get sidetracked too much, but what you got going on in the background? It looked like someone was trying to do Morse code, like your TV back there. Like I saw a light going on and off.
Oh, yeah. So everybody's kind of getting dinner ready to go. So all the kids are going to come parading down here pretty soon.
Oh, I got you.
So yeah, so let's so what I'll do before we wrap this whole thing up, I want to ask you one question. And we'll probably have to do another episode because there's like so many things that I think you and I can talk about to we're going to have to do a part 2 for sure, maybe part 3. If you had to leave somewhere quickly, this is a classic question I ask in all the episodes. I just think it gets interesting answers. If you had to leave somewhere quickly and everybody was fine and safe and all that, what are you grabbing? What are you taking with you?
So like besides the stuff that my wife want to grab, like family photos, like
yeah. Like I'm talking like cards. I'm talking collectibles. Like, is it your Bobby Witt jersey? Is it that card that Bro Namath got for you? What is it?
It would be the stuff I already said. And then for me, it would be my Silver Surfer #1, like it's from 1968 or whatever. So his first copy of that, I would take that. And then the Witt stuff and all. So it's funny, all the stuff I named, when I got sent out here, I only had 4 days to like come out here to the Philippines. And then my wife decided to move to Florida. So like, that's all the stuff I grabbed and was like, hey, can you please take this to Florida? Do not put this in storage. And then, a couple other baseball cards, but that's it. So
you actually perform this exercise. I'm like, it's all in like, theoretically, would you do this?
No, that's all the stuff that we have. Yeah. And then plus like, just some higher TCG items that I got, that are in, it's just one case that has all this stuff in it. And then the Bobby Witt jersey, but yeah. So.
Well, since so much is going on in the background here, it's going to start even getting louder than it already is. I'm just going to wrap this up. But hey, Don, thanks for jumping on and joining the Collector Series. And this has been a really fun episode. There's a lot of talk about leadership, which is really fun in the beginning, and then we just ventured into a lot of different topics. But yeah, definitely have to do a part 2, part 3. But again, if you guys want to go check out Don and his stuff, Breakin Wax. YouTube, you can find me at DPZ at PC with DPZ on the Luke Nation Network in the Collector Series. But anywhere else we could find you in your podcast?
No, it's just the links on my Instagram, and that's to like every podcast platform. And if you want, I definitely want to have you on the podcast too.
Let's do it.
And the background stuff doesn't bother me. I just thought someone was asking for help in Morse code back there. So
no, it's because my wife's walking back and forth, and there's lights over there, and it's every time she walks by it, it creates a shadow. So it's actually reflecting. I was watching it after you said that, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what's going on, because it's like it's going between the lights and all that. I'm like, yeah, you're pretty astute. You're noticing things. It's pretty cool. Anyway, hey, thanks for joining us, man. Again, folks, have comments, questions for Don, let them know down below. Let us know how you feel about the episode. If you have questions on leadership, things you want to know about, or books you want to check out, reach out to either one of us. We're glad to help you. This was the first episode where I was interviewed too, which I thought was really fun. I kind of knew it was going to happen with Don because he's really good at interviewing. So there's a little bit of a purpose behind that. So that was kind of fun. Anyway, we'll probably meet on his channel at some point, but we'll definitely do this again. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, have a good one. I appreciate you having me. Take care.
Yeah, you got it.
With nearly 40 years as the most trusted resource for collectors, dating back to the first Beckett magazine in 1984, Beckett has been the brand that bridges generations of the hobby. We're happy to be partnering with Beckett and look forward to keeping you all updated on the big things happening at the company in 2023. Beckett, it's the name you know and the name you can trust.